Welcome to Easy to Love Yoga with Shanna. Today we're going to use a practice that uses our mat, a blanket or a bolster, and a set of yoga blocks. So let's get ready. Seated on your blanket or on your bolster with your legs crossed. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can have your legs in a nice butterfly pattern in the front of your body. Thinking about your posture now, sitting nice and tall, closing your eyes and resting your hands on your lap comfortably. Noticing your breath. Are you allowing the belly to rise on the inhale, breathing deeply? Just notice without judgment. Taking a moment now to scan the body, starting at the crown of the head, working down to the toes. Notice any areas you need to be mindful of as we move through this practice on our mat today. And remember, if something doesn't feel right or is not comfortable, you do not need to do that pose. Always keep yourself safe. Now moving on to our 4 square breathing practice, starting with an inhale through the nose of 4, 3, 2, 1. Retain your breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Retain the emptiness. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Retain. Exhale. Retain. Inhale. Retain. Exhale. Retain. Inhale. Retain. Exhale. Retain. And now returning to your regular breath, and just notice if you're breathing deeply, allowing the belly to rise on the inhale, and gently open your eyes, rolling your shoulders to the back of the room, waking up the body, rolling the shoulders to the front of the room. Beautiful. And resting your hands on your lap once again, and bringing one ear towards the shoulder, just gently stretching out the neck. Sitting tall, breathing deeply. Returning to center, and let's move to the other side, bringing the ear towards the shoulder. Returning to center, and this time looking up the ceiling, lifting the chin, stretching the front of the neck. Back to center, and drawing the chin into the chest, stretching the back of the neck. Returning to center, and we're going to take our fingertips, bringing them to the back of the neck. We're just going to massage up and down the neck, and just notice if you're holding any tension in the neck. Gently massaging up and down the neck. One more time, up and down the neck. Releasing the fingers from the neck and just rolling out the wrists. Rolling in the opposite direction. And now making a stop sign and bringing gentle pressure to the fingers just until you can feel the sensation of the stretch in the lower part of the wrist. Always remembering to stop at that first sensation of the stretch to keep yourself safe in this practice. Still breathing deeply, thinking about your posture. And now let's lower the fingers and once again gentle pressure, this time feeling the sensation of the stretch along the top of the wrist. One more breath here. And let's change hands, making that stop sign and bringing gentle pressure to the fingers, feeling the stretch in the lower part of the wrist. One more breath, and lowering the fingers once again, gentle pressure, feeling the sensation of the stretch at the top of the wrist. One more breath, and let's roll the wrists out in one direction and roll in the other direction. Now we're going to use our yoga blocks. We're going to have a yoga block on either side of our blanket or bolster. We're going to place one hand down on the block and bring the other hand high to the sky, looking through the fingers, really stretching as if you're trying to touch the ceiling with the fingertips. Holding here. One more breath. And now the hand in the sky is going to come down on the opposite side onto your yoga block. Opposite hand reaches up, stretching as if those fingers are trying to touch the ceiling. One more breath here. Hand in the sky comes down to the block. Opposite hand comes up to the center and then over, looking through the fingers, adding a small side bend here. And returning that hand to the block. Opposite hand reaches up and then comes over. Nice side bend. And now we're just going to alternate, moving into that side bend for just a moment and then changing sides. Changing again. And change. Change. And one more change. Beautiful, and returning to center. Now we're going to take our blocks and we're going to bring them slightly behind our blanket or our bolster. You're going to place one hand on the knee and bring the opposite hand behind you onto the block, sitting nice and tall, and on an exhale, twist and look over the shoulder, holding here for 10 rounds of breath. So nice and tall. Notice your knees and hips must remain level with the mat. Trying not to pull up on one side of the body. Focusing on your breath. One more breath here. And slowly unwind, coming back to our starting position. And now changing opposite arm to the knee, hand behind you, sitting nice and tall. And on an exhale, twist and look over the shoulder, holding here, breathing deeply. Focus on your breath. Sitting nice and tall. Trying not to pull up on either side of your knees, keeping them nice and level with the mat. One more breath here. Beautiful, and moving to center. Now we're just going to do a few rounds of cow and cat breath. So making sure your blocks are out of the way. You're not going to hit them with your fingers. Lifting the arms up as we inhale into cow, looking up at the sky. Now exhaling to cat, arching the back towards the wall behind you, bringing the arms behind. Inhale to cow, looking up. Exhale to cat, arching the back. Inhale to cow, looking up. Exhale to cat, arching back. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Beautiful. Now we're going to move on to the mat. So we're going to come off of our bolster or our blanket. We're just going to come onto all fours. A nice tabletop position. So our knees are under our hips. Our fingers are spread nice and wide. Hands are under the shoulders. We're going to do a few rounds of cow and cat breath here once again. So inhaling to cow, drop the belly, looking up at the sky. And then exhale to cat, arch the back and look towards the knees. Inhale to cow, belly drops, looking up. Exhale to cat, arch the back, look towards the knees. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. One more time. Inhale to cow. And exhale to cat. Now stopping here in tabletop, we're just going to roll the hips in one direction, just releasing any tension we may have in our hips here. One more roll in this direction, and we're going to change directions, rotating the hips the opposite way. One more rotation and stopping again in tabletop. Now we're going to move on to a bird dog pose. So we're going to keep both hands on the ground to start. We're going to lift one leg up and extend straight back, toe pointing down. Now take the opposite arm and bring it forward. Look down at your mat and just hold here, working on balance, engaging the abdominal muscles. Now we're going to take it on a diagonal. Still looking down at your mat. Drawing everything back forward. Our starting position of bird dog. And now let's add a light pulse of the arm and the leg. One more pulse. And return to our starting position. Now we're going to extend the opposite leg out, toe pointing down. Opposite arm comes forward, looking down at your mat. Taking everything on a diagonal, holding. Continue to breathe. Drawing everything back to our starting position, bird dog. And now adding that pulse with the hand and the foot. One more pulse. And returning to our starting position. Beautiful. Now we're just going to come down onto our bellies. Bring your elbows just underneath your shoulders. Forearms are flat on the ground. Legs are extended out. Feet are flat. This is a nice cobra pose. So just lifting the shoulders, looking upwards, slightly with the head. Feeling a nice stretch in the low back here. Breathing deeply. Breathe through this cobra. Two more rounds of breath here. Beautiful. Now we're going to extend our arms on a diagonal and we're going to lift up the chest off of the ground as well as the shoulders into this seal pose, which is giving us another beautiful stretch in the low back. Now if this is too intense, please go back to the cobra pose with your forearms and elbows on the ground. Just holding here. Two more rounds of breath, breathing deeply. Coming back down into cobra, bringing the arms back down, elbows are underneath the shoulder blades, once again in cobra. Feeling the sensations in the low back. Beautiful, one more breath here. And now bringing those hands under the armpits and coming back into all fours. Beautiful. Now what we're going to do is thread the needle. So we're going to take one hand, draw it through, bring the shoulder and the cheek down to the mat. Looking beyond that hand that's extended under the body. One more breath here. And coming back into all fours. Now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So thread the arm underneath, lower the shoulder and the cheek to the ground. Breathing deeply. One more breath. And slowly coming back up into our starting position. Now we're going to move into a puppy pose. So we're going to keep our glutes high. We're just going to extend the arms forward and lower the forehead down to the ground, extending the arms, stretching the upper back and shoulders. Now if this is too intense, you can come onto your forearms. You can cross one arm over the other and lower the forehead down. So choose the way you'd like to do puppy pose today. Two more rounds of breath here. And slowly coming out of this pose, bringing the hands back towards the body. Coming on, seated onto your ankles and your heels for just a moment here. And just lifting up the arms to the sky into cow. Exhaling into cat, just lowering the body. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat, arching the back. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Beautiful. So remaining seated on your heels, bringing your arms into a T position and just twisting to one side, stopping at that first sensation of the stretch and just holding here for a moment. Breathing deeply. One more breath. Coming back to our starting position. And now rotating in the opposite direction, stopping at that first sensation of the stretch. Breathing deeply. One more breath here, coming back to our starting position. Now taking one hand to the floor, bringing the opposite arm up. Bring it behind you, looking through the fingers at the ceiling. One more breath. And coming back to our starting position. And now let's change sides. Opposite hand comes down. Bring that hand up and over behind, looking through to the ceiling. One more breath. And returning to our starting position. Beautiful. Now we're going to bring our hands forward once again. Spreading those fingers nice and wide. We're going to extend the legs behind us on our toes in a nice plank position. Trying to keep the body, don't tent up like this. Try to keep the body nice and level. Holding here in plank. Now let's move into a down dog. Now you can move your feet in a little bit closer if you find you're stretched out a little bit too much here. And just notice as we move back into plank how that feels. Moving back into down dog. Moving back into plank. Back into down dog. Back to plank. Last time into down dog. Last time into plank. And allow the knees to come down to the ground. Beautiful. Now we're going to move into a child's pose. So if you'd like to use your bolster for some extra support or your blanket, you can do so. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our knees wide on our mat. Bring our toes together behind us. Think about drawing your glutes towards your heels, extending your arms forward, lowering the forehead to the mat. Now if that's not comfortable, you can cross the arms one over the other, lower the forehead down here, or you can just remain with your forearms on the mat and just lower your head. Find what works best for you today in child's pose. And lower down, get into position, get comfortable. Remember to keep breathing, and we're holding for 10 rounds of breath. Keep breathing. One more round of breath here. Start to walk the hands back towards the body. Beautiful. Now we're going to change this pose. Work on the hips a little bit. So we're going to come down onto the belly. Lowering all the way down. You're going to bring one leg up to the side in 90-degree bend. Flexing the foot. Placing the hands one on top of the other. Lowering the cheek down in the same direction as your bent knee. I like to call this a lazy frog. So just relax the body here. Close your eyes. Think about your breath. Breathing deeply through this pose. Trying to relax the back. Relaxing the hips. One more round of breath here. Now slowly allow that foot to come back to the starting position. Bring your forehead down to the arms. We're going to hold here for 4 rounds of breath. One more breath here. Now you're going to do the same thing, lazy frog on the opposite side. So bringing 90-degree bend to the knee, foot is flexed, and then bringing the cheek down so you're looking in the same direction as your bent knee. Holding here, breathing deeply. One more round of breath here. Slowly allow your leg to come back to the starting position. Keeping your hands crossed in front of the body, lowering the forehead down. 4 rounds of breath here. Slowly coming back up into a baby cobra. Forearms on the ground, elbows underneath the shoulders. Feeling a beautiful stretch in the low back. Two more rounds of breath here. Now we're slowly just going to roll over onto our backs. So rolling over onto your back, bringing your feet to the corners of your mat, arms at a 45-degree angle at your side, palms facing upward, closing your eyes and bringing your attention now to your breath and noticing if you're still breathing deeply, allowing the belly to rise on the inhale. Taking a moment to scan your body, starting at the crown of your head, working all the way down to your toes, and just notice the sensations in the body. Has anything changed from the scan you did at the beginning of class? Just notice without judgment. Focusing once again on your breath. Relaxing all the muscles in the body, wiggling the fingers and toes and allowing the limbs to relax. Notice if you're holding any tension in your back or shoulders. Relax into the support of the earth below you. Breathing deeply, focusing on your breath. Feeling the support of the mat and the earth underneath your body. Allowing you to just let go. Nothing to do but breathe. Wiggling your fingers and toes, bending your knees and bringing your feet flat to the mat. Taking your time and rolling over onto one side, coming into a seated position, either cross-legged or legs in a butterfly or extended in front of you, whatever feels most comfortable. Resting your hands on your lap, closing your eyes. Just taking this moment to notice your body. Bring your hands together at heart center. Thank you so much for participating in this practice and for sharing your energy in the practice of yoga. I hope you realize that it really is easy to love yoga in all its different forms. Thank you again for taking this mindful time for yourself. Self-care is so important. I hope you have a beautiful day. Namaste.